This tutorial will walk you through the budget form for the New Hampshire State Council on the Arts Public Value Partnerships Grant Program. If you have applied to this program in the past, this budget form is not substantially different from what you used before. The big change is that there is now a section for comments. And this is important. It allows you to provide some detail or an explanation about any item in your budget that you feel you would like the panel to know more about. So feel free to use that comments section. At the top of the form, there's just some basic information here that is reiterating what you read in the guidelines for the program. The ceiling for the request has been increased this year from $13,000 each year to $15,000. The request for the first year of the grant period, remember this is a 2-year grant, cannot exceed 10% of your income. Very important. You must also provide a cash match of at least $10 to every $1 that you ask for from us. And your future year budget must balance. Income and expenses must match. This blue text here just reminds you not to use dollar signs, periods, or commas. There are formulas in the form that will do the math for you, and those symbols just confuse the formula. So going right into the form, you will type the organization's name here and put in the dates of the fiscal year. That's very important. And then we'll just start. Typing into this form is very simple. Again, no dollar signs, commas, periods. If you had ticket sales, admissions, let's say you had $6,000 worth of revenue from ticket sales, you'll type that in like this. And again, for each year, and you can see now that when I use the tab key, that the dollar amount has formatted properly. It's very important as you're filling out this form that you've got all of your financials right in front of you, because we want, in addition to your current year budget, we want the year that has just passed, and we also want your future year projection. Make sure that as you're filling the form out, you've got everything in front of you. The next item, contracted services. If you have any income related to services that you provided, let's say to another organization, and you received income from that, you are going to want to identify that in the areas below here, and then type the dollar amounts in. If you don't have any contracted services income, you will place zeros in the blue fields. And so these blue fields that you'll see throughout the form are a way for staff and the panel to quickly eyeball your budget form. And so if you don't have anything in this area, that's when you put zeros in. If you do, you will identify it here underneath contracted services. And also you can use the comments section to provide a little bit more detail. And then we have concessions, sales, rentals, any fees or tuition that resulted in revenue for you, membership revenue, any corporate contributions. Once again, you want to list them here by the name of the corporation and the dollar amount. If you didn't have any corporate contributions, you'll put zeros in the appropriate blue cells. And so, there may be some years where you will have had a corporate contribution and then other years when you didn't. And that's fine. You use those cells in whatever way is appropriate. Same thing with private foundation grants. If you didn't receive any, use the blue cells and put zeros in the blue cells. If you did, you want to list the name of the foundation and the amount you received. Any other private support, this includes fundraisers. If you have a big event each year or a couple of events, this is where you would put that revenue. Any any support that you're receiving from the federal government. If you don't receive federal support, put zeros again in the blue cells where appropriate. But if you do receive federal government support, we want you to identify the federal government agency, list that here, and then put in the dollar amount. If you're receiving state support from an agency other than us, you want to list that as well. This could include tourism, JPP dollars, or other state agency monies. If you don't receive any other state support, again, use the blue cells. Same with local government. Then we have applicant cash. So if you have cash reserves, you want to list those. And then the value of in-kind contributions. And so that would be those contributions would be listed again below. If you didn't have any in-kind, again, use the blue cells. And then you'll see that the subtotal will add here. You don't need to do the math yourself. Just below that, this is where you're going to put in your request from us. And then that request will add, and then it will add to your income. And then we go to expenses. And once again, this works exactly the same way. We want your past year, current year, future year projection. And in the areas where there are blue fields, if you don't have anything to list, again, put zeros in the blue fields. Including accessibility expenses. So these are expenses that are specifically incurred to help your organization adhere to Americans with Disabilities Act requirements. And so if you don't have any accessibility expenses, again, put zeros in the blue fields. But if you do, please list them, what they were. And again, you can use the comments section to provide more detail if you need to. And then finally, the last item is other expenses that don't fit into these categories, and you want to list those. And then your expenses will also add. So it's important to remember to be very careful if you need to add extra rows to the form. Just double check to make sure that the formulas are still working. Hopefully you shouldn't have any trouble with that, but we do want to make sure that the formulas are still working. If you are a little unsure about whether you want to add those rows, contact the grant coordinator and that person can help you with the form. Finally, there is a fillable PDF version of this budget form that you can use, but it doesn't include the formulas, so you'll have to do the math yourself. We strongly recommend that you use the Excel formatted form. It's a whole lot easier. And last but not least, when you go to save the form, please save it with your organization's name in the document title. And if you're going to save it to PDF version, after you filled it out, use the dialog in your print dialog to save it as a PDF. Don't do save as and then export to PDF. You might lose what's in the form. So use the print dialog PDF conversion if you're going to do that. As always, if you have questions, please reach out to us. We're very happy to assist you with the budget form. Thanks.